Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to day 16 of the Workplace Power Leverage Sessions. This is a 31-day career accelerator, and the goal is pretty simple. It's to help you win at work and in life. And you know how we do that? I gave you basically 9 power leverage. And what do this 9 power leverage help you do? They basically help you to accelerate your career, help you to grow in your recognition in the workplace so that you can earn the income you really want and live the life that you want. So far, we've dealt with 5 power leverages. Good. And I hope you're really digging into the whole conversation and really putting into practice the things that we are getting into. Today, we're going to be starting on our 6th power leverage, and that is your focus power leverage. Yeah, focus, like I sent in the email which I sent out, focus is the stuff of champions. You know the reason why? Because focus, when you can use your you really be your focus power leverage well, it actually becomes a super power. I'm sure most of you must have heard about the story of Steve Jobs when he made his return back to Apple. And you know what he basically did? He basically decided that, look, out of all the products that they had already been running, products that they had so far, that he was going to cancel so many of them, and he was just going to focus what the company was going to be doing on very few products. And that really was one of the platform that catapulted Apple to the next season of success, which we still are having at this particular stage in life, more years after he had already passed away. And it's that kind of superpower that I really want to bring into your life. The power of you being able to really bring super laser focus to what you do at work. Now, in terms of the way our conversation is going to go, I want you to, at this point in time, begin to consider 2 classes of tasks that you do within the workplace. I want you to identify the tasks that drain your energy. That's the first one. And I want you to identify tasks that you love doing, that create value for others and also increase your impact. Basically, tasks that you love to do that don't really drain your energy. Now, the reason why it's important for you to understand is that, look, each one of them requires a different strategy in terms of how you are going to approach them. And I know for most of you, for tasks that drain your energy, even just thinking about doing the task has a way of just turning your buttons up and up, and it's like something which you really don't want to see yourself doing. You really would rather prefer to be doing something else, but it's part of what it is that you have to do, and so you have to find a way of doing it. Now, one of the things you have to realize is that your focus is not is not something which you can basically think you can multiply. Focus is something which you have to control. And so your ability to control your focus and really keep your attention on the things that you need to do is actually what will bring simplicity and creativity to the task you do, and actually allow you to be able to bring more results to what you are doing. And so it's very much important in terms of how you're going to address tasks that you basically drains your energy. You need to find a way of addressing them in a way that helps you to keep your focus during that period. And so what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be sharing a couple of tips that I think will be very good for you in terms of you being able to address the tasks that I think drain your energy. Now, the number one thing which I will tell you to do is this: delegate or outsource them. Yeah. If it is possible, if you're in a position whereby you can actually delegate or outsource them, my strongest recommendation is this: delegate or outsource those tasks. Yeah, because if you can delegate or outsource those tasks, you're able to give it to people who actually have the capacity to be able to deliver it. And even if it is a case of, look, these people it's also a particular role that it's also a task that they themselves do not find exciting. But the point here is this: you are coming in at a point whereby you can review the job. The inputs that you're going to make into that task is not significant, but at the same time, that input is able to significantly multiply whatever the result that you're going to get on that job. So that is the first thing I would recommend: delegate or outsource it. So let's now imagine these are actually tasks that you cannot delegate or outsource. Now, remember, we're already saying that these are tasks that basically drain you. They are tasks that you don't like doing in terms of what they do. They basically drain your energy. So we need to come up with a strategy in terms of how you're going to do that. So number one thing which you need to find a way of doing in terms of how you want to focus on this, you need to find a way of breaking them into small subtasks. Now, the reason why you need to break them into small subtasks is that because you want to do the whole at a time, it has a way of de-energizing you. if you can break them into small tasks that you do at small pockets of time, and that actually comes to the next thing which you need to learn to do. You need to be able to set time slots. I mean, there's a term which is used, time blocking. You need to be able to block different windows within your work hour that you actually come and do those particular tasks. So number one, try and break it into small manageable tasks that don't basically that don't basically drain you so much. So let's imagine you have a responsibility to prepare a particular presentation which you really don't like. So what are the various steps that are involved in preparing that presentation? Number one, you need to first develop an outline for the presentation. Number two, you need to do a bit of research in terms of what sort of data you are going to put in the presentation. Number three, you need to now draw up in terms of the support information that you're going to need for the presentation. And then the final thing, you actually need to do the presentation. Now, once you've been able to map out all these, we're already assuming that this is a task you don't like doing. You've been able to map out all these particular activities that you need to do regarding this particular presentation. And what you now need to do is you now need to decide at which point in time you're going to be doing each particular task. Because by breaking them into small subtasks, what you're more or less doing is you are reducing the way in which it drains you. So for example, let's say you just show up for this particular block of time. All you just want to do is you want to do the outline. You just want to draw up an outline for the presentation. So you do the outline for the presentation. Probably it doesn't take you more than 30 minutes. 30 minutes, you're done. You go to something else which you are doing. And maybe much later you come back, you decide, oh, this time all I'm going to do is focus on the research. Now you can see there's one thing which you are introducing, which actually brings us to the third thing which you need to be able to do. You need to be able to take breaks within the task that de-energizes you. And that's the reason why once you can fit it into different time blocks, the next thing is you're already creating breaks for yourself. Because the reason why it drains you is that, look, you're basically trying to do everything at the same time. But if you can break it into small time blocks, whereby you do a particular you do a particular chunk at this particular time, and then you move to something else, and then later on you come back, you come back to that, you do it, and that sort of way. If you can introduce that kind of breaks into it, it reduces the way in which it drains you, the way it saps your energy, the way you feel that, look, I rather prefer not to do it. And it comes to the last thing, which this is now something that you have to build up internally. You need to focus on progress and not perfection. So for example, like in this presentation task that we've run through, you can see that effectively what you are recording is at different points, you are recording progress. You've not gotten to the end point of actually completing the presentation. But what is this, that you are recording progress, you are recording progress, you are recording progress. Now, in this particular case, I've actually used a task that maybe might sound like a bit of an ad hoc, but supposing there is a task that you really have to do on a consistent, ongoing basis. Like there was a particular point in time in my career that there was this report that I had to do. Now, this report, I'll tell you this, I used to prepare this report every Friday, and it was one of those draining activities. And I'll tell you the reason why it was one of those draining activities. The only way in which I could do that report at that point in time was that I had to run the valuation for every single portfolio. I run the valuation for every single portfolio, and after running it, type it into another Excel sheet. It was pretty laborious. Type it into an Excel sheet, do this. And I'll be running valuations for 2 periods. So for example, I first run for the whole period, do this, done it for the next period, do this. Oh man, that thing was really tasking. It wasn't one of the fun tasks that I love to do. But the way in which I just had to do is I just had to focus my mind and just tell myself that, look, this is something we're going to. So of course, when I took over the role and I started doing that job, that was how I was doing it, that very boring, laborious way. But over time, what I now started doing was this. I introduced something which made the work a lot simpler. So something that used to take me 3 hours, you know what I was able to do? I was able to introduce automation into it that I was able to compress the length of time which it took me to do it. I mean, it even got to a point whereby I could actually run the system, let the system just run, and then I'll come back and then just pick up whatever the data it is. This actually takes you to the highest level of what you can do to tasks that don't energize you. Automate them. If it is very possible, you need to start, if you find out that, look, all the strategies that I've highlighted for you that you can use to manage those tasks, you find out they are not working. The next thing I would recommend here is this: try a way of automating it, because automating it has a way of, one, compressing the time. Not only does it compress the time, it also improves accuracy. because this is something you don't enjoy, and so there's significant room for error. But when you're able to automate it, you're able to compress time, reduce the margin of error, and deliver the report consistently in a way that everybody is able to appreciate it. So today, we'll sort of come up with three different strategies, three different overarching strategies, really, for you to address tasks that don't energize you. Number one, delegate or outsource it. So number two, we're now assuming that you cannot delegate or outsource it. We're not saying in terms of how you do it, how do you actually achieve the way in which you're doing it? And what we've gone through is that, number one, you need to plan for it, break it into smaller steps, sub-steps. Number two, set different time blocks that you're going to do all the respective steps. Number three, try and make sure you take breaks between each particular step that you're doing. And as much as possible, just focus your mind on progress and not perfection. And then we now went, that's just one block, focusing primarily on your ability to how you are going to do it. The third thing now is you need to find ways of automating it, because when you automate it, that is a big, significant game changer. Really, it's a huge game changer. If you can automate tasks that you don't enjoy, tasks that you don't like, tasks that de-energize you, if you can do that, look, that is a huge game changer for you. So your assignment for today, pretty simple. Let me just share my screen here. You need to list out 5 tasks, 5 things that you do that drain your energy, that you can delegate or outsource. Number 2, you need to identify 5 things that you love doing that create value for others and increase your impact. You need to find ways of focusing on that. So really, this is your assignment for today. You can see, obviously, I've given you big picture thinking, telling you that you need to find ways of delegating or outsourcing it. Now, delegation and outsourcing, you have to be a bit strategic in terms of how you pursue it. So, for example, let's imagine you're a team leader. It probably might be a lot easier for you to delegate or outsource if you're a team leader. But if you're not a team leader, if you work within a team, how do you delegate and how do you outsource? These are ways in which if you've been following the trend in terms of how we've been building our conversation over the whole train of the period, you would have built enough credibility and relationship across the teams that you work with, that if it is possible for you to actually outsource it outside of the team, outside of your work area, it's going to be possible based on the relationships and networks that you have built up to this point. And I'm not saying that you delegate it simply because you want to tell the person that, hey, this is the worst job that I really don't like, and I really want to give it to you. Look, you delegate or outsource to people in which you find that, look, they have some measure of competence, they have some measure of interest in that particular area. Because if you give it to people who don't have that who don't have that interest, or who don't have that unique ability to be able to do that job, what you're basically doing is just creating trouble for yourself. You understand? And that's the reason why here, what I'm focusing on tasks that you can actually think strategically in terms of transferring it to other people. For the other tasks that drain your energy, which you cannot transfer to other people, I'm sure you've already seen the list of, we've already gone through a list of strategies that you can use to address them. Very, very much important. The whole idea is to make sure that, look, every day you show up at work, you are bringing in your A game. Your focus is really on the money. You are not being distracted. You're not being pulled. And the biggest distraction that happens for a number of times for us knowledge workers is the fact that, look, we're showing up to do a task that has a way of draining us. Because when a task drains us, well, it's at that point in time that you start finding other things to do. You start looking for distractions, like, for example, some people start finding distractions like social media, etc., and things like that, because why? The task has a way of draining us. But if you can bring your A game to every single task that you focus on the workplace, then, my guy, it is very, very beautiful in terms of how you're going to deliver your results at the workplace. With that, we come to the end of today's conversation. I strongly recommend that you try your hands on the task and assignment for today. If there are assignments that you missed out in the previous days, please go ahead and do it. Later this week, I'm going to be opening my time block for us to have one-on-one conversations. Just choose the time that works for you. Like I said, for me, over the course of these 31 days, I'm going to be here to provide support to make sure that, look, we're able to deliver the transformation that you really want on the job, in terms of how you deliver on the job. The end goal, like I said, for every one of you is that, look, you are able to accelerate your career, grow in your recognition in the workplace, increase your income, and live the life that you want to live. Thank you very much, everyone. every one of you guys for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow, bright and early. Have a great day.